So today I'll be sharing lots of hints and tips about where to place Japanese maples in your garden to preserve their colour, to stop their leaves burning, and even to develop some really nice colours as well. Hi there maple fans, and in this series of videos I'll be sharing what I do throughout an entire year on a monthly basis. Please note that these months are based on UK timings, but of course can easily be adapted to anywhere else in the world. So just sharing my experiences over the last few years of finding the right location for these trees. So the border on the sort of right hand side of the picture there has morning sun and afternoon shade. The border here faces north, so in the winter the sun's very much behind that fence, but it does sort of creep over the top of it as well. So they do get some sun morning and afternoon actually. And then just moving on here, we've got a wall that is west facing, but I've actually built some shade over the top. And for certain sorts of trees, we'll go through, what that looks like. I think if you've got a south-facing garden and you want to grow a variety of trees, that's really, really helpful. And this is a selection of cultivars that really don't mind all-day sun. There are caveats to that we'll cover, but they're completely south-facing nearly all day, really, and quite happy, to be honest. So I shot this video footage at sort of mid-afternoon, about 4 o'clock, really. This is Sakazuki, does get quite a lot of sun, to be honest. Eventually it's sort of the sunset behind the fence there, but as you can see it's happy enough and it's coloured up really quite nicely. And what you can see between the more ready leaves there is the green ones. So this is in quite a lot of sun, and this is the first point I'd make though. This is a largest tree, it's a few years old, and some of the leaves on top are protecting the ones underneath from sunlight. So that's a topic we should come back to. If a tree's only got a few leaves and they get burnt, then we've got real problems here. So these top ones might suffer a little bit more if we have a really, really hot sort of summer, which I very much doubt here in the UK, but you never know. And this is quite a good location, I think, to harden this tree off. Japanese maples, as they get older and develop, they all get more tolerant to heat and wind and everything, really. But it's a matter of sort of gently introducing to this, not going from sort of the purchase straight to the hot sun. Just coming to this east-facing border, very important to consider wind as well. I just couldn't grow anything on this border before until I put this bamboo in place. So this is a bit more a long-term project. Some running bamboo in some sort of really solid plastic pots there, so it won't spread everywhere. But over the last couple of years, that's really come on and developed. And done extremely well actually, and adds to the attractiveness of the area, I think, to be honest. And then behind that I've got some conifers to the side there on the right, behind there as well, and there's even a sort of second sugi cedar in a pot, which is probably not recommended, but we take these chances. The whole lot has absolutely slowed the wind down. So is it sunlight that's a problem, or is it wind whipping over fences or round corners that's the issue? It's most definitely the case that you can't stop wind. It just flies over tops of fences, it causes turbulence and problems, but this has really slowed everything down massively and led in no small part to how successful these trees are. So this is a border that everybody should be using for their Japanese maples, because you get that morning sun and then afternoon shade as the sun sets behind the fence here, and that's classically, in terms of sun levels, is what they really, really like. So this is great for established trees. So there's enough sun there to keep the Twomby's red sentinel red, and even the crimson queen on the left there as well we're coming to, but enough also protection for the slightly more immature trees to do very, very well. We'll come to what to do with sort of damaged ones and really delicate ones later, but as you can see, adds a bit of colour there. The Baihu has got a little bit of pinkiness to it, which is absolutely fine, but in full sun that would really suffer, and in shade it just wouldn't look so interesting. So I think this is a sort of very much a grow-to location for many, many maple growers. So point in question, if you put that Crimson Queen in full shade, it most definitely will go green and not look crimson at all. In full sun, it's not as tolerant as, say, Tamukiyama. You don't really want to be doing that. It's much better in that location. And what I tend to do is, if I find a great location for a tree, I kind of let the tree pick. If it's happy, we'll leave it there as long as possible, to be honest with you. So this is Trompenberg, which really should do very well in full sun, but had a lot of damage, had a lot of issues with it. It's one I've been sort of playing around with on some of my other videos. I will give it a trim the end of this season, most definitely, but again, it's probably a good location for it. And here's some seedlings that you may well have seen as well. So they're doing really well, and we've got some lovely new growth there on the top. But again, this is for okay trees that haven't got major problems and are kind of thriving and doing all right, really. And you know where they're doing okay when they start putting on growth this time of year. So this is the sort of second growth spurt that these trees go through. They grow quite rapidly in the spring and then about this time of year. Just a quick note on feeding as well. If you use a sort of liquid feed, I don't, but if you do, it's probably the last feed you want to do at this point, so it starts to run out before the autumn and winter. Or if you've used a slow release feed and given it some feed in March, the food will naturally be running out by now, and that means it won't grow on too quickly into the winter and get loads and loads of dieback. So this little Oridono nishiki, which suffered from some frost damage in the spring actually, which is another big danger zone, come on really well. This is the sort of thing, if there's no way I'm moving that plant anywhere, it's recovered really well indeed. It's put on loads of new growth, and clearly this is a good time, August in the UK or North America or that kind of relative month for you, to see how these trees are doing. Any sign of new growth is always a good sign in my view. So I think, as you can see from that Sazanami there as well, this is a really good border to sort of see how things get on with it. From this position here, you can always move it into more shade if the tree needs it, and if it seems to be thriving, maybe more sun. I'd do a bit of research on that first and let it acclimatise for a year or two, definitely. This little Aratama here, again, was in a different location, but I've moved that from shade after its first year into this position here for its second and ongoing years, really. That's really thriving. Okushimo there, beautiful upright habit, which sort of fits in. I think everyone could own one of those because it just grows straight up. It doesn't take up too much space, to be honest with you. So just a really nice tree to own. And again, he's very happy. I've had that in a shadier spot. I've had it there. It doesn't seem to mind. And because it's green, it kind of retains the colour. So here we have Jerry Swartz. And again, this is a classic example. If you put this into too much shade, it just stays really, really green. If you put it into too much sun, you might burn it. But as you can see here, a little bit green on the inside, but on the outside, it's absolutely pink. So it's a really, really nice colour. And the pink that doesn't really fade. So well worth putting in a dab of sun there, really. So moving into this border that faces north, in theory that should be really shady, but unfortunately it kind of isn't because these trees have got bigger. The fences are only 6 foot and these trees are at least that, some of them, certainly with the pot included as well. And you will get sun in the morning coming over from the side there and in the evening coming over from this side. So in the summer it actually gets a lot more sun than you might give it credit for. So yes, there's some protection there, but I've been quite mindful of what trees to put here. So the Bloodgood is sort of full sun capable, really-ish. So it'll cope with full sun. It does burn a little bit though. Probably over a number of years it might harden off actually. But to be honest with you, it's okay. I just accept that one or two leaves will get a little bit crispy, but it's a sort of sacrifice I'm willing to make. The same with the Katsura. The trouble is with Katsura is it spreads in a very bushy, wide habit, and it's difficult to find the right location for it, therefore. So it hasn't ever really hardened off, this tree, and it's one of these trees that, they will tolerate full sun, and tolerate's probably the word. It doesn't really enjoy it. This is Anna Irene, which is a sort of variant on Summer Gold, really. And again, it's a little bit burnt, a little bit not 100%, but you know what? I think it's absolutely fine, to be honest with you. Really worth noting at this time in the season, you can't really expect trees to be absolutely leaf perfect. In the spring when they're pristine, that's absolutely fine. But, I wouldn't beat yourself up too much if the odd leaf has been nibbled by an insect or curled up a little bit through some wind or some heat. So it's probably the trick that, as you can see there, where the sun's kissed the end of the leaves, it's kind of a bit more red. But that's got a fair amount of shade, to be honest with you, because it's smaller and the fence does offer some protection. As do the other trees, to be honest with you. So it's definitely a good idea, possibly, if you're starting out in this and you don't mind putting some in the ground. Plant some in the ground that like full sun, and that will generate shade for the rest of your trees. And just to say, if you'd like to come with me on my Acer journey, please do like and subscribe to my little channel. It really, really helps. I've also recently set up a Patreon site, so that's a great way of supporting me too, and help out with some of the costs of my excursions, really. There's also the offer of some personal help, if you'd like it, either in a group format or at a one-to-one basis. So I suppose the sort of corners of these borders are quite interesting because it's kind of where two sides intersect. So there I've got an Acer dissectum, which is remarkably sun tolerant actually. It's not rated for it particularly, but certainly a splash of sun, is absolutely fine. And then this is where I've got my construction of a sort of bamboo roof. You could use shade cloth, about 50% is what I've used, to give them a shady area. I know that's probably a big ask for some people, but if you're going to sort of be able to buy the full raft of Japanese maples, at least in the early days, until they do get harder, until they get bigger, then having some shade, that if you have to create it, I think you do, is really, really beneficial. And again, you can say that the ones that are here, like that Benny Mako, really, really springing up, really loving it, some new growth on it. It's a really good time of the year to take a look at your trees and sort of verify that how well we're doing. The Acer there, really badly overpotted by me. I'd love to be honest about it. It gets too wet in the winter, or it has done, but this year it's actually grown to sort of occupy the pot better, and I've got away with it. So I will be leaving that, but it's really starting to come into its own. And you've got things like butterfly, which like really, really burn quite badly. Again, it will never really be sun tolerant, not like some of the other ones. Got some new growth there. The colour is kept really nice because it's that sort of mint and sort of buttery yellow kind of colour. And also this Dragon Master, which I've wall mounted, you've probably seen before. Again, loads and loads of shade all day because it's close to that roof. And that 50% shade works brilliantly, I would say. These little fellas as well. I mean, if you're not sure what to do with your trees and you've just bought them, or you've just potted them, or you just want to take care of them, put them in full shade. It will not do them any harm whatsoever. And then, you know, as they develop, then I would introduce them to some sort of semi-sun, and then full sun if they're the kind of cultivar that's going to grow to love that, really. But this is the big mistake. You can buy something, read on the internet that Tamukiana loves full sun, stick it straight from, you know, being grown in a polytunnel in a nursery into the hottest midday sun wherever you are, and have a massive problem. So if it's ever come from a nursery, if it's ever a plant you've just bought, I'd really, really protect it from full sun and wind and all the rest of it as much as possible. You know, one lone tree in isolation is subject to all the wind, all the sun. There's no other trees around it to protect it. It's kind of a rather difficult scenario. So then you might get put off because it doesn't do very well. When you've got this many trees and the wind blows, it's kind of like they're all absorbing the action of the wind, really. And that really, really helps. So that one there, actually, the early leaves that leafed out in the spring didn't do very well because it got a little bit over wet. But as you can see, because it's in this nice shelter position, there's enough sun in the evening to kind of dry things out. I've monitored the watering. The new growth is really, really nice. And just onto this Jordan, which crisps up so much, it really does. I've seen these are a good few years old and they never really adapt, but retains its beautiful green colour, as did this Viridis, because out in the sun it will turn red. So yes, the red ones will tend to go green in too much shade, and the green ones will go red in too much sun, these dissectums. So just doing very well there indeed. And again, Orange Dream, another classic example where it really lights up in livid green that little space, but where the sun has just touched the top of it in the evening, it's actually burnt them. So again, it's something I've discovered. It really likes that location, so I wouldn't move it without any good reason, really. Now, another great tree for this shady scenario is Acer Sharon. The reason is it hasn't lost its red colour. It retains it really, really well, considering it's in a really, really shady area. So that again is something to bear in mind, that some cultivars will retain their colour much better than others. So this Acer red wine has a kind of upright but quite a spreading habit. So these work quite well in corners, to be honest with you. Much happier where it is this year. A little bit of Christmas going on, but much better than where I had it last year, where I don't think it's the full sun it's that bothered about. It's more actually the wind action. So again, that's really important when considering location. So this little Orium has done really well this year, actually. Some of these trees take a year or maybe two to really get their roots sorted out, and then they really come on strong, and that's certainly done that. And interestingly, this Benny Shishihenge is another example where the early growth has gone a bit yellowy sort of thing, but the new growth in terms of leaves is looking really, really good. So once again, we had a really, really wet spring, but with a bit of TLC, we've managed that, I think, quite well. So a close cousin to Jordan and Orium is Moonrise. This would be protected from the sun first thing in the morning, but from midday it's in sun the rest of the day, really. Again, it really, really develops the colours. It would be quite green otherwise. And I'm a strong believer that with some of these trees, it's wind action that makes the difference and crisps up one or two of the leaves. As you can see there, what's being blown around, it's the extremities, where the ones close to the centre don't get blown around so much. So a bit like sort of waving something in the wind, it does have a drying effect. And then we really come on to some more trees. This Orangeola is renowned for doing well in full sun. I've taken a bit of a chance. I bought it as a tree that's just about big enough to do okay. So I think that'll be fine this year because we haven't had the hottest of summers. That's one I could always move into more shade if necessary. So this Contifolium and the Shin de Shoujo next to it have done really well this year. Again, with hindsight, my mistake. I think I overpotted them slightly. So all that happens is they tend to grow loads of roots and wait until they fill the pot and then produce lots of top growth. So overpotting, another reason not to do it is it'll actually slow the growth of the tree down, believe it or not. So never mind all the problem with rotten roots and all the rest of it. These pots are relatively inexpensive. It's better just to pot on in small stages. Why does it do well in full sun? Because it's got waxy leaves that really retain water. So it looks delicate, but it really isn't. So Rhode Island Red here had that for probably 6-8 weeks in a semi-shade area and then moved it to full sun. Definitely the right thing to do because it was grown in a polytunnel. I know because I bought it from there. So again, let them acclimatise a little bit before you put them straight out, and make sure any tree that you're going to put into full sun like these is basically healthy. They need to be kind of at the top of their game with the roots working properly to provide water to them. Little Makawa Yatsubushi there, always a favourite, again doing really well. Twisted Spider, kept that in a really small pot and look at the growth, it's unbelievable. So Little Princess again has done well this year, particularly it's really grown a lot. And I think it's interesting because these ones that I've got south facing in full sun, if they're the right cultivars and they're healthy and you tick those boxes, they don't half grow really quickly. It's like all the energy that they're getting they will use, and certainly many of them are putting on a real growth spurt at this time of year as they normally do. So Hub's Red Willow, a real favourite of mine actually, these little strap leaf maples. You can see the Cotonuito there behind it. Shana can be a bit finicky, but in a pot with loads of control, loads of sun, just eat sun. It really prefers it. In fact, with the dwarves, they just don't like too big a pots. They don't like overwatering. It's that more of a causes more of a problem. Bit of a thing going on there with the plant next to it. But here we got that Cotonuito. I'm not sure I like the foliage. It does fine actually, but it does go a kind of mixed green and red colour, whereas in full shade it will retain that lovely lime colour. But I think with the Siryu here, the leaves go absolutely gorgeous, to be honest with you. They're not burning, they're just adapting. It's like, we change colour in the sun, I get a tan perhaps. And that's exactly what this tree does to honestly very great effect. Do like to keep these, hydrated. If I know particularly there's a heat wave, water in advance. And then on to Ryusen, which again is another tree where it sees sun, it changes its leaf colour. Or indeed in shade, as you can see in the internal leaves, it just retains that nice coloration too. So this tree is 4 or 5 years old now, quite well established. Tried it in different locations, but just eats up full sun, to be honest with you. So what's the moral of the story? I think keep them in pots. Put trees in the ground, absolutely. Why not? As long as you've got the space, of course. But I think if you leave them in pots and move them into different locations, as I've done, by experiment, you'll see what the tree's actually like. You'll also see them harden off over time. If you just buy a tree that's lived its life in a very sheltered environment and pop it straight in the ground, that can be devastating too. So what I've learned over the last few years is to treat all 4 sides, north, south, east and west of my garden differently. Some just like shade. You're going to have some shade and maybe create some somewhere. But you can definitely treat all these trees, these cultivars, as individuals. That's ideal. But definitely you can categorise them into sort of 4 different ways. I've got the full shade ones, I've got the full sun ones, I've got the half and half ones, but also those trees that are immature, have a little problem we need to sort out, and I might handle those a little bit differently. But certainly if you go to a dedicated Acer nursery, they should be able to provide a huge variety of trees, and depending on what your needs are, you can actually buy the perfect tree to match it. So that can be really beneficial and save lots of heartache down the line.